This is the Princess V55, and when I first saw this boat at the Southampton Boat Show in 2019, I thought to myself, how can they make that any better? I mean, it's great to look at, it's got 3 very comfortable cabins, it's very nicely built, and it's not even crazy money at just under £1.1 million excluding VAT. But the question is it as good to drive as it is to look at? So the boat has a pair of 1,000 horsepower Volvo Penta D13 engines on shaft drives. However, there is the option to have a joystick, so you can have joystick control. All it does is use the 2 propellers and the thrusters in combination to help you move sideways or turn all the way around as you would have with an IPS boat. In fact, the steering feels quite similar to an IPS boat as well. It's incredibly light, almost lighter than some of the IPS installations I'm used to. And though that makes the boat nice and easy to move about, it isn't quite as tenacious in the turns as I'm used to from Princess V-Class sports cruisers. That said, it's still a very nice boat to drive and an easy boat to drive as well. There's a wonderful driving position here at the helm. I love the ergonomics, how close I can get to everything, the relationship between the steering wheel and the throttles. The view is very good, and it's a really clean, classy dash as well. Nice curvature to the mouldings here, and the fact that this sort of plastic up here peels back to reveal a nice leather top. It looks really, really good. Everything is digital in terms of the dials, and you can split that between engine information, navigation, radar, etc. And though it's all touchscreen, you do have a keypad down here so that you can use that out at sea if it's moving around too much for using the touchscreen to be comfortable. I always like to see that on a dashboard as well. There are a couple of downsides. One is this huge mullion here makes it quite hard to see what's coming from the starboard side, and you do sort of find yourself ducking your head around to see past it. Another thing is this area here. A lot of this boat's rivals have got wireless keypads or wireless pads for charging a mobile phone. This has got this little slot here that isn't really big enough for a mobile phone. You've got a small cup holder. There's not really anywhere else to put loose items, which is a bit of a shame. There's been quite a big groundswell out here in Plymouth today. Loads of power from these engines is really good in these conditions. You can get yourself out of the troughs nice and easily, and in the following sea there's plenty of power to help you climb up the back of the next wave. Reacts really nicely to the throttle, especially when you're on the boost. There's plenty of push in the mid-range from these engines, and we topped out 2,500 RPM at about 35 knots, which is really good going for a boat this size. It means you can cruise 20 knots, 25, you know, up to 32 knots if you're in a real hurry, and it feels comfortable. And those challenging conditions have meant that we can give the hull a decent test, which isn't always the case in boat tests, and the boat has fared really well. You've got to be kind on the throttles. You can't just hammer through the swell and the chop and expect the boat to deal with it, but if you're kind on the throttles, it looks after you really well. It's soft riding, the view is excellent. As I said, we've got trim tabs. I've not had to use them once because it's got a really nice natural running attitude, and it really feels of a piece. There's been no squeaking, no banging, no rattling from any of the furniture, any of the door downstairs. It feels really solid, like it will look after you as it has done today if the weather kicks up. Back here on the transom, you have the option to have a hydraulic bathing platform, which of course you could put a jet ski on or something like that if you wish, but you have got a tender garage here big enough to take a 3.5 metre tender, so that means that stow's nice out the way, leaving the bathing platform good and clear. As you move up here, you find access here to a crew cabin, a very cramped crew cabin, I hasten to add. This particular boat hasn't got it, it's just set up as storage, but as a cost option you can have it fitted out as a single cabin if you want to have that. And it's nice to see some of the detailing down here. Like, you've got really good stern mooring gear here with a nice chunky fair lead, big cleat, and you've got winches as well, and there's even a locker here with the drain so you can put wet ropes in there and they can drain off. What I like about the cockpit is how sculptural it is. You've not just got big blocky sections of seating, everything's nice and curved and soft. Really lots of thought gone into it. It's not just sort of plonked there. You've even got nice detailing up here overhead where it's not just, you know, bare plastic. You've got some material up here and this sort of detail in here as well. It's all really nicely thought out. It's a big space as well. Look at the size of this table. It's absolutely huge and really well protected as well. I like the way that you have these screens coming down here. Obviously they've got glass inside them so that you still have a good view, but it means that wind is funneled down the side and you're nice and protected if you're using this dining area here, and you've got a decent protection from the overhang as well. Another neat feature is that there's an infill in this little section here where that gap is out to the side deck. You can actually fill that in with a backrest and a little slot for a base so that you can completely fill in this area. Huge wrap of seating so you can get one more person sat on that corner of the table. Over here you have the wet bar. Of course the galley is very close, so you don't have a sink out here, but you do have a grill. Obviously having that outside is great, means you're not going to get cooking smells inside. And then down here you've got an ice maker, you've got a fridge, and then in this cupboard it's nice to see that you've got really easy access to the fuel shut-off valves to both engines, both tanks, and also the generator tank. Now of course the V-Class range doesn't have a fly bridge, so suddenly this foredeck area becomes very important, because alongside with the cockpit it's your only other main outdoor living space. And this is a really nice area because you have not only your classic sunpad arrangement as you might expect, but you have this little bench area as well. You have to forgive us, the cushions aren't on there at the moment, but you can get the idea. You have some storage underneath this area as well. Both of these sides you have access to a deep locker that runs the full width of this moulding. You also have access to it via the bench section here, and then of course forward you have your anchor locker and some more storage for lines and fenders. It's impressive that there's so much headroom in the engine room of a 60-foot boat like this, and when I can stand fully up, as you can see, and it's very easy to move around the engine room despite the fact that you have an intrusion from the tender garage. Natural light is pretty good when you have the hatch open, but you also have good amount of artificial light down here as well. And there's some other nice touches as well. You've got a slot here for the boat hook. You have freshwater wash down here so you can swill out the bilges if there's a spill, and you have great access to the fuel filters and the raw water filters, which are mounted here on the forward bulkhead. So what you get once the door has gone down into the deck is this fantastic connection between the outside and the inside. There's a completely flat floor here, and of course it means you have great connection here between the seating area, the wet bar, but then you also have access to the galley. You have this fantastic internal dining area as well. Of course this table extends like this, and that's a really nice big internal seating area. And of course you have the solid roof overhead, but it has glass panels in it, so even when it's closed there's plenty of natural light. Now there isn't as much glass and it's not as big as on say the Sunseeker Predator 60 Evo, however it's still a really good size and makes this boat incredibly versatile, because if it's a day like this, lots of rain about, you can just shut up the back doors, keep the roof shut, and you can go boating in a t-shirt. So looking in a little bit more detail, you have your television here. That's also in this sort of bulkhead where the sliding door is. Push button, up it pops, and you've got it here facing the dinette. There's a galley up only option on the V55. It's a really good size as well. There's lots of counter space. You've got this nice flush hob here as well. Sink is under here obviously, and they focused on storage as well, because you don't have any eye level storage. They've had to make the under counter storage work quite hard. You have your fridge here. I quite like these handles as well, where you have the popper is actually on the handle itself. That's quite nice. Fridge here. You have some drawer storage in here, and a really nice touch is this looks like a bit of wasted space, but a touch of a button here, they've built some storage that sinks down right down into the unit, and that's quite deep as well. It goes back a long way. That's really quite handy to have. Some more drawer storage here. You have a little dishwasher down here, and then on the end you have bespoke storage to hold glassware, mugs, things like that. So it's quite a practical layout, and of course it's right opposite the dinette as well, so it's very easy to serve people who are sitting here. And downstairs that means it's all accommodation, so we can go down there and have a look now. Now, because the lower deck is only for accommodation, all three cabins are a really good size. To starboard here you have a twin cabin. It's got bunks in it, but they're a decent length, and you have good storage in there, which you don't always have in third cabins on boats of this size. Opposite the day heads, but this is also en suite to the VIP cabin, which is forward here in the bow. I'm going to have a closer look at that now. Now this is a really nice guest cabin. The berth split in half, so if you want to have two singles you can. At the moment they're set up as a double, and note how the bed head sort of curves into the end of the cabin, lengthens the berth, and it makes you feel like you've got a bit more space in here than you have. Also the size of the windows help with that. There's plenty of natural light in here, despite the fact you haven't actually got an overhead skylight, you've just got an escape hatch. Storage is good as well. You've got drawers underneath the bed here, you've got a big hanging wardrobe to the starboard side, and this is quite a nice touch as well, in that you get a little vanity unit. Obviously you use the edge of the bed to perch on, and then you can use the mirror and the vanity unit, and as I said, through this door is how you have ensuite access to the day heads. This is a really nice master cabin, and what I like, apart from the space, you've got well over 6 foot of headroom. Even when I step up around the side of the bed here, I can still stand without having to stoop my head, is how the design flows from the outside of the boat to the main deck to here. So there's lots of curves on deck, there's lots of curves here as well. You can see it in the sofa, you can see it in the TV surrounds. They haven't just put a big slab here behind the bed, that's working quite hard as well. You've got the nice downlighters, use of stainless steel and glass and different materials. It's really nicely done. It's practical as well. You've got lots of storage over on this side of the cabin, both in drawers and a hanging locker. There's space behind the door for a washing machine, and of course there's an ensuite, but cleverly they've used a sliding door so that an opening door doesn't gobble up too much space inside the ensuite. To answer the question posed at the beginning of this video, yes, the V55 is as good to drive as it is to look at. Maybe not as good to drive as some previous V-Class models, but still very competent out on the water. And though connectivity at the helm lags behind some rivals, it's still a very accomplished all-round package. Yes, there's a feeling aboard the V55 that in reality, it's all the boat you will ever need.